This is a copy of Mendeleev's chart as it has come down to us today. In this video, we're going to look at the gross anatomy of it in order to lay a foundation and give ourselves some terminology for getting around the chart. Each square in the chart represents an element, and you can see that they're laid out in rows and columns. However, because of the gaps, it looks more like a highly pixelated city skyline than it does a regular chart. The gaps are actually very important to the shape of the chart, which is fundamentally related to the structure of the elements. There is so much information packed into this chart that we are going to manipulate our own version of it in different ways to gain a familiarity with it. For example, we're going to color in this first blank chart. For now, disregard the two little blocks that stick up in the first row. I mean this block on the left and this block on the right. This block on the left is actually the element hydrogen. This block on the right is the element helium. They are where they are on the chart for a very good reason, but I want you to disregard them right now because sometimes helium belongs on hydrogen's side of the chart and sometimes hydrogen belongs on helium's side of the chart. So we're just going to let those two hang while we look at the gross structure. We'll start with the block on the left side of the chart. This block is 2 squares wide and 6 squares tall. I suggest that you use red to outline and then color in this block. I can't color in very well on this presentation, so I'm going to be using cross-hatching to indicate coloring in, but I think coloring in makes a much nicer final product. You know, the more emotion you invest in something that you're doing, the better you'll remember it and the quicker it'll become a part of you. So there's the first tall building in our city skyline. The second one we're going to do is on the far right, and it's actually a square, 6 squares wide and 6 squares tall. I suggest using an orange color. I'm going to be using yellow because it's just easier for me to have a yellow color in this presentation. As you draw this square, you're going to notice that it seems like we're leaving some elements out at the bottom. What we're doing is we're leaving out these squares that represent elements that actually are predicted by the table but haven't been discovered yet, so we're not going to worry about them. And I'm just going to kind of X them out here, so that we're reminded that they don't contribute anything to the current study of chemistry. The next block that we're going to do is the one that connects these two blocks. It will be 10 squares wide and 4 squares tall. I suggest using a green color. Now these colors will provide a mnemonic later in the course. For right now, just take it on faith. Finally, there's the 2-row block that's disconnected from the main part of the chart. We're going to call those the orphans, but they are a block and they need to be considered right now. I would suggest doing this block in a blue. The orphans actually have a place in the main body of the chart, but if they were to be included there, it would make the chart extremely long and unwieldy. And so they are usually placed in this disconnected block below the chart in order to give us a handier tool for study. The blocks as we have outlined them here actually each have a name. And in this scheme of things, hydrogen and helium are both part of the red block. And so I'm going to outline them right now in red and say that the red block is called the S block. Continuing in the order that we colored them in, and there is order to it, the yellow block is the P block. These should be small letters. S is small, P is small. Next would be the green block, and that is called the D block, D as in Delta. And finally, the blue block of orphans is the F block. I have no idea why these are not in some kind of alphabetical order, but there you have it, the basic anatomy of the periodic table of the elements. Does your table look something like this?